On November 9 and 10, 1938, the Nazis staged violent pogroms, state-sponsored anti-Jewish riots against the Jewish communities of Germany, Austria, and the Sudetenland. These events came to be known as Kristallnacht, commonly translated as the Night of Broken Glass, a reference to the broken windows of synagogues, Jewish-owned stores, community centers, and Jewish homes that were plundered and destroyed that night. Instigated by the Nazi regime, the rioters burned or destroyed 267 synagogues, vandalized or looted 7,500 Jewish businesses, and killed at least 91 Jewish people. They also damaged many Jewish cemeteries, hospitals, schools, and homes as police and fire brigades stood aside. On Kristallnacht, approximately 30,000 Jewish men were arrested and sent to concentration camps. My paternal grandfather was arrested and sent to the Dachau concentration camp. Kristallnacht was a turning point in Nazi anti-Jewish policy that would culminate in the Holocaust, the state-sponsored mass murder of Europe's Jews. For the dead and the living, we must bear witness. These are the words of the late Elie Wiesel.
The Jewish Orphanage in Dinslaken. At 9:30 a.m. on the 10th of November 1938, some 50 rioters arrived at the Jewish Orphanage in Dinslaken and started vandalizing and destroying the place. There were 32 children and 15 members of the staff at the orphanage that day. On the morning of the 10th of November 1938, a policeman and 2 Gestapo agents arrived at the home looking for items of value. The policeman told Herz about the unrest in the city, and one of the Gestapo men ordered Herz to ensure that no one was left in the home before 10 a.m. At 9:30 a.m., some 50 rabble-rousers arrived at the children's home and started to vandalize it. Windows were smashed, furniture overturned, and books and belongings strewn in every direction. As far as is known, about half of the children that were living at the orphanage at the time of Kristallnacht perished.
Zach family. During the Kristallnacht program, SA men burst into the Zach's family home in Niedenberg. Aaron, who was standing by the entrance, he was stabbed in the stomach, and he jumped out the window. Mina heard the struggle. She came to the door, and she was stabbed in the neck. Kurt and Helmut tried to fight off the mob, and they were stabbed repeatedly in their hands and their arms. Local policemen were called in, and they took the children for protection in the municipality cell. Mina hemorrhaged heavily. She did not survive the night. That same night, the local synagogue was demolished. Aaron, Kurt, and Helmut went to the hospital for treatment. That's where they met Julius Naftali, another relative who was brutally stabbed. Julius was married to an Aryan woman. He also did not survive the night.
On November the 9th and 10th, 1938, during the Kristallnacht pogrom, the windows and doors of the few remaining Jewish homes were smashed. Locals threw stones and wreaked havoc. SA men dragged 2 Jewish women through the streets while singing anti-Semitic songs. Leopold Bahar and 2 other Jewish men were arrested that night and sent from the Hanover prison to Buchenwald. Leopold was 65 at that time. Left alone, Josephina couldn't bear the humiliation and the hatred. The false imprisonment, looting, and destruction that raged in the city were more than she could stand, and she ended her life on the 11th of November, 1938, at age 56. Before committing suicide, she wrote to her son and daughter in Eretz Yisrael.
Professor Zvi Bacharach. That was the heart of the problem of German Jewry. It was so much a part of German society that the Nazi blow hit it from within. Until 1938, my parents never thought of leaving Germany. There's no way the Germans we live with will continue to do these things. It's only an episode. That was the atmosphere. It was also the atmosphere during Kristallnacht. They couldn't comprehend it. It came as a blow. I remember my mother standing pale and crying. I remember her phoning her Gentile friends. She had more Gentile friends than Jewish friends. No answer. No one answered her. This excerpt is from the testimony of historian and Holocaust survivor, Professor Zviba Harach.
We light this candle in memory of the 30,000 Jewish men arrested on Kristallnacht. The arrested men were paraded through the streets and into the synagogue, where they were forced to recite anti-Semitic writings and passages from Hitler's Mein Kampf. Then the synagogues were set on fire and the men deported to concentration camps, where most of them died as a result of the brutal treatment they endured. I light this candle in memory of my grandfather, Martin Anson. On Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass, stormtroopers raided his home, brutally beating his parents and grandmother. After striking one of the officers, my grandfather was deported to Dachau concentration camp, along with his father, uncle, and cousin.
We light this candle in memory of the Jews who were killed on the day of Kristallnacht, a dark foreshadowing for the millions who would come after. Kristallnacht proved especially destructive in Berlin and Vienna, home to the two largest Jewish communities in the German Reich. Mobs of SA men roamed the streets, attacking Jews in their homes and forcing the Jews they encountered into acts of public humiliation. Police records of the period document a high number of rapes and of suicides in the aftermath of the violence.
We light this candle in memory of the 7,500 Jewish shops looted, vandalized, and destroyed during Kristallnacht. As an additional indignity to propel the Nazi propaganda machine, the owners were accused of having set the fires themselves. The German government made an immediate pronouncement that the Jews themselves were to blame for the pogrom and imposed a punitive fine of the equivalent of $400 million on the German Jewish community.
We light this candle in memory of the Fasanenstrasse Synagogue, one of the 267 synagogues set aflame during Kristallnacht. This synagogue was the largest in Berlin, with seating for 1,700 worshippers, and it was totally destroyed during Kristallnacht. Under the direct orders of Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi Minister of Propaganda, its Torah scrolls were desecrated and burned. Goebbels calmly watched as the synagogue burned.
We light this candle in memory of over 6 million Jews, including 1.5 million Jewish children who perished in the Holocaust. We light in memory of the Jewish communities that are no more, of the centers of Jewish learning and culture that are no more. We mourn the loss of Jewish lives whose potential achievements the world will never know, and their children and grandchildren who never were.
We light this candle in memory of our father
and grandfather, Ralph Lewin.
On the night of Kristallnacht, the synagogue in which he had just celebrated his bar mitzvah was completely desecrated.
We light this candle in honor of our father and grandfather who survived Buchenwald and for all the families whose lives were forever shattered.